What are the differences between gasoline engines and diesel engines? How do the two differ? And what are the benefits versus drawbacks of using one over the other? By the end of this video, you'll be able to answer all of these questions. But first, how does an engine work? Engines work based off simple thermodynamics. In an engine, a fuel mixture is ignited. This causes the piston head to move downward. This piston head moving downward translates its motion into some sort of work. In this case, it rotates a flywheel. This flywheel is then connected to other mechanisms inside the engine, which allow the engine to operate. In a gasoline engine, there are two important parts. The first part is the carburetor, and the second part is the spark plug. The carburetor is the mechanism in which the air and gas mixture are combined together to the right proportions. In the carburetor, air is intook through the very top, and gasoline is imported through a tube on the side that connects to the gasoline tank. Inside the carburetor, these two substances are mixed to the right proportions and are inserted into the engine to allow the engine to run at the maximum efficiency. In this case, this carburetor also has a prime switch, which allows more gasoline in order to be put into the carburetor. The spark plug ignites the gasoline mixture from the carburetor. In the spark plug, there is a magnetic strip which is attached to the flywheel. When the flywheel passes under the magnetic portion of the spark plug, it creates an electrical current. This electrical current is then translated into the spark plug, which allows the gasoline mixture to be ignited. This ignited gasoline mixture then pushes down on the piston head because it rapidly expands. However, what is the difference between a gasoline engine and a conventional diesel engine? Well, first of all, a diesel engine does not have a carburetor or a spark plug. Instead, it uses simple adiabatic expansion in order to achieve its process. In a diesel engine, the air is taken into the piston chamber. The piston then compresses its air. Because the volume of the air decreases, the pressure and temperature must increase as a result. This increased temperature causes the air to become super hot. Right before the piston reaches top dead center or the very top of its rotation, the fuel injector injects a small amount of diesel fuel or whatever fuel is being used into the piston. This means that once the piston does reach top dead center or the very top of its rotation, the air becomes hot enough to ignite this fuel. This fuel then ignites, causing the piston head to move down, translating this into work that can be used on other mechanisms of the engine. In this animation, it shows the difference between a simple gasoline engine and a diesel engine. In a gasoline engine, the air and fuel are already mixed together before it is imported into the piston chamber. Then the piston chamber then decreases the volume of the piston, which allows the ignition plug in order to ignite the fuel. However, in a diesel engine, the air is put into the piston head and the fuel is not mixed with it prior. As a result, right before the piston does reach the top dead center, a small amount of fuel is injected into this. The hot air is what causes the fuel to ignite and ultimately creates the work that we see in the animation below. However, what are the advantages to using diesel engines? There are multiple advantages. Diesel engines have better fuel economy, longer range, and are cheaper and easier to maintain versus conventional gasoline engines. Also, diesel engines have the possibility of using biofuels. This is important because as the world moves towards using better and more advanced fueling that decreases pollution, diesel engines may be the future. Because diesel engines do not have a carburetor, they can use multiple types of fuel that gasoline engines cannot. Diesel engines have a couple of drawbacks. For one, they are harder to start in cold weather because they need hot air in order for the mechanisms to occur. As a result, some diesel engines have a glow plug. This glow plug acts as a catalyst to get the engine started in cold weather. Diesel engines also tend to be a little bit louder and pollute more. They also have a limited model selection when buying. Because diesel engines cost more to first buy, have a limited selection, and pollute more, there are a couple of drawbacks to using them. However, in the long term for your wallet, diesel engines may be the engine of choice because they tend to spend less money, easier to maintain, and last longer. To recap, gasoline engines have a couple components that diesel engines do not have. These include the carburetor and the spark plug. While the gasoline engines use a carburetor to mix the air and the fuel and then ignite it with the spark plug, diesel engines do not. Instead, they rely on hot air in order to ignite their gasoline. This causes a few benefits and a few drawbacks. However, it's ultimately your decision whether or not you choose to use a diesel engine or a gasoline engine. Thank you.